Hey, it's good to welcome Daniela Revelli on this program once again. She is a tattoo artist and musician based in Spain, if I'm not mistaken. She recently released a new single titled Galaxies, and we'll be spending much of this podcast talking about it. Daniela, welcome to the show once again. How are you?
Thank you. I'm really good. It's good to be back. Excited about what's coming. Not just the first single, but the full EP. That was just the first single of the full EP, which is 5 songs.
Okay.
Um, and it's the first full project I ever do. So I'm excited.
All right. Yeah, I'm excited for the EP as well, and I certainly hope to welcome you to the show once again to discuss it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what more can you tell us about the EP? When is it coming out, and what's the thematic direction of it, if you may?
So yeah, the second single is called Take It Easy, and that's coming out in hopefully a week and a half. I haven't really announced it or released it just yet because post production has been, whew, it's been a lot. And obviously, that's not something I have anything to do with because obviously it's mixing, mastering, and so on. But I definitely wanted to kick it off when I originally said I would. Otherwise, if I needed to wait for all of the songs to be ready for releasing the song, I was going to end up releasing them closer to end of the year as opposed to in September. But I had already announced September. So to try to keep to the schedule, I I just released the one song and we fast tracked that song to actually get it to be what it needed to be. But now the process in regards to the EP is building a band, touring it at some point when the band is ready. But yeah, that's not happened just yet. So
I see. Yeah. So I think by the time this episode airs, the new single will already have been released. So I'll probably feature it at the end of this recording or something like that.
yeah, that would be amazing. Yeah. I'm excited for the second single, especially because even though we have some merch for the first single, I think we're getting the best merch for the second one because the name is so relatable. It's like take it easy. The song talks about taking your time. Good things come with time and patience and work. And, I feel like we live in a fast-paced culture where everything needs to be right now, and if it's not right now, it's not good enough. But that's not where you get good produce. That's not how you get products that actually last, and not just quality wise, like last for a long time. I mean, last as in legacy,
Yeah.
you take time in building a family and that holds a legacy that is generations to come. It takes time to build good work like Michelangelo or Leonardo da Vinci. It takes time. It would take them 20 years, 30 years to complete a piece of work, but yet here it is centuries later we're enjoying the fact that they took the time to do the labor, to take it easy, to one chisel at a time, knowing that, it would have some impact because that on a soul level, right? People may know that on a logical level if they study a lot, but if in your heart that at a soul level that every single time that you're kind of in faith taking that little extra time that will have some repercussion knowing that nothing goes unseen. This is my point of view anyway. So I guess the song talks about that, but it's such a relatable line, like just take it easy. Who can at some point in their lives not actually feel, oh wow, let me just take my time and take it easy to make this good, and I feel like that's gonna give the best merch because something that says galaxies. I mean, yes, if you like you're an astronomer or something, you may like to purchase, a sweater that says galaxies or a cup that says galaxies, but it's a lot more reduced. But something that says take it easy, something that tackles the core of like the essence of right now society and the whirlwind that we're in, I think will sell well. So I'm really excited because I've never released merch either, but I think that merch is going to be good merch.
All right. Yeah. So when it comes to music, what to you are the examples of works that create a legacy in themselves?
What do you mean, like as in people that I admire that I think have created a legacy, or how do I feel like I'm going to do that?
I guess both. At first, you can address, the kind of people artists and musical works that you find have created legacies in themselves?
Well, true legacy. Well, probably Bach, like
Mhm.
by far. I mean, he's created the basic systems that we're playing now, and they didn't exist before him. So I think classical musicians have done a lot for music. Probably, I feel the same or a similar way in regards to jazz, which kind of like initiated modern music and changed the progressions to the classical, eh, chord progressions. Not even chord progressions, just more like scales that the classic music had, and it switched it up. So I think that that initiated a whole movement that obviously we're seeing repercussions of to this day, like jazz musicians, and then more more power to them, the blues musician, um, African Americans that landed in the States, or in the Caribbean and made music that was very much legacy brought from home, mixed with, pain, mixed with cathartic, mixed with the new culture that they had come into, and then creating something that was completely new. And I think that the legacy of obviously these modern, based on the old music, modern, but obviously nowadays not so modern because the only thing modern nowadays is just like Bad Bunny and stuff. But I guess that's good legacy. It's hard to say, what my legacy will be because it will probably not have the impact blues or jazz had in music. But I am looking forward to touching people's hearts, I guess. I mean, it sounds a little cliche, but if it's not that, then it's not worth it. If people can't listen to the music and, feel seen or um, feel understood or feel hope brought to their lives, then I feel like it doesn't make any sense to be making music or putting so much effort in doing something. So I guess my kind of legacy that I'm looking to leave to tackle the second question is one person at a time, and I've already had, some people, message me, and the song has really moved them and, they love it and um, they feel so connected to it, and they're posting it and it's beautiful to see because that's something that I did that came from my heart. And the fact that I was able to take it easy enough to actually let the work come through has enabled some people to really enjoy it and have some positive things to say and think and feel while they listen to it, which is great.
Awesome. Yeah. Tell me the story behind the song Galaxies, which I find to be wonderful.
Well, wow. That's a fun time. I actually wrote the song when I was living in Australia. Well, I wrote the beginning parts of the song. So I was living in Sydney and I was living with three housemates, and one of them played the piano. I don't play the piano. I don't particularly play the piano. Like I can dabble a little bit, but I'd never had a piano that was in my house. So because her piano was at the living room, I sat at the living room. And this is crazy because I'm actually not a pianist. So even though I know chords, and I know how to build chords, I really was just going from a place of I'm looking for a sound that would sound moody enough to be able to write something that's gritty or something that is profound. I needed to land the words that I was looking to land somewhere that would be deep enough to hold them. And so I started, I know that D minor 11th is not a chord that I made up, but I was making it up in that moment because I didn't know that I was playing a D minor 11th when I started the song, which is the key that the song starts in. I was just playing keys, looking for a particular sound that I wanted. Nothing was really, nothing that I already knew, all the major chords, in the different scales or whatever. Nothing was really sounding good. So I just used both hands to create one large chord. Well, obviously not created because D minor 11th is not a chord that I created, but I was using it. In my mind, though, in the process of creation, I was really just creating it. So I remember when I landed on D minor 11th, I was like, whoa, this is great. You know, it was like, boom. It just sounded like everything that needed to happen, you know? And then when I found that chord, it was so beautiful that I was like, I felt like in that moment, there was so much in my heart. I was in such awe of the fact that we are here, you know, that this world is a beautiful place that we get to experience, that we get to connect with each other. You know, I was full of so much awe. This is why I'm saying, you know, I needed a deep chord that would be able to hold all of the things that I was feeling at that time. And such a beautiful experience I had living in Sydney. So when I hit that chord, I was like, whoa, this is it. And it came out. In fact, if you actually look through my Facebook, there's a video where I have platinum hair and I'm sitting by a piano and I'm singing this song 7 years ago. Maybe, yeah, about 7 years ago, 6, 7 years ago. And you can see the beginnings of how it actually sounded. And it's so different to what it sounds like now. But it's funny that the only instrument that was left from the original kind of skeleton of the song that I sent to the producers was the road that I was playing when I recorded it to send them the idea. That piano is still in the actual mix, which I think is fantastic because I don't play the piano. And yet my recording of me playing the piano is actually on the track, which makes it that much more special because I'm not a pianist, but that's how impactful those chords were to me and obviously to anyone that even just would then go to produce the song. So I guess that's where the song started. It really just started in a very visceral place of needing to find a chord to be able to express what I felt. And then obviously everything else flowed out of there. Like the lyrics were written in like 10 minutes. I was like, in all of the things, you know, I just kept thinking, you don't miss one single thing in you know, a stadium full of people, which we were experiencing that all the time. You know, God doesn't miss one thing, you know, and that to me was so breathtaking, you know, that it just made me think about the universe and, you know, the galaxies out there, you know, and how everything is just so beautiful. And we could see the signature of perfect love just really just nodding us in, like, you got this. And so that's how that song started. Fun times.
I see. Yeah. So when you think about the person that you were 7 years ago, and the person that you are now, of course, aside from the hair color, what else has changed?
Um, Maturity. I've matured. Um, Motivation. The reason I'm doing things and the things that motivated me then are slightly different to the things that motivate me now. Um, so more, just more and deeper of who I actually am is the main change. So not like a massive change because I'm the same person, but with maturity comes, you know,
Mhm.
altered priorities and, you know, more focus and just overall better understanding of who you are. So, yeah, that narrows down kind of where I've been. I'm pretty much the same person. Like I look at, you know, kind of my value system then and my value system now, and it's not changed, but it has changed. The things that move me the most changed a bit, you know. Maybe before before then I hadn't dealt with a lot of the pain or like I think I had dealt at that point with the big part of the pain in my life, you know, because we all need to kind of go through the dark night of the soul to actually land somewhere that you have something truly good to give. And the only reason you actually land to a place where you have something truly good to give is if if you've had something to go through, if you had a valley to walk, a tunnel to go through, and you landed on the other side, then you're found with the gold that's on the other side, you know, of the rainbow, if you will. And so then you have something good to give. So I feel like we all need to do that. And we all, you know, whatever our lives have looked like, we have had some type of pain. And there's a maturity that only can come from dealt with pain, pain that was dealt with, pain that was healed, you know, pain that was allowed to be and allowed to be accepted for what it was before it was able to be released. And so I feel like, well, there's the big chunk of it was sort of dealt with, but then there was many layers to the onion, many like more fine details of my life that I needed to kind of work through. And, so I feel like I did a lot of that internal work. And I think that that's evident now in who I am.
And I wonder if is that something that you hope for with the person that you will be 7 years from now? A little bit of change, but essentially still the same.
Yeah. I mean, I don't I think if you're stagnant and you're not moving, that's the definition of death. Life means growth, life means change. If anything stops moving, it just dies, you know? And so yeah, I hope that I'm different tomorrow than I am today, and that I can be a little bit better. Uh, and a little bit more of who I am and return a little bit more home to my body and a little bit more home to who I was made to be. I mean, I think that's the eternal journey of life, not that we've arrived, but we press on. We press on.
Yeah. I believe in our last conversation, we discussed much about our shared Christian faith. And I wonder, so what are you doing these days to practice and to maintain that faith these days?
Well, I mean, I don't think I've changed many of the things that I practiced before. I pray, I talk to God. I think He's involved in everything in my life. And I obviously I go to church, I read. And yeah, I think it's a weird question to answer because it sounds like, it sounds like there's a prerequisite that I could do something about, this faith that I have. But it feels in my life a little bit more like impossible not to, like it's just like God is present and, active and He's good. And, well, whoever watches this wants to address to, because I'm not sure that He's, a man. I know Jesus was, um, but I just feel like, yeah, uh, I heard this really, really cool, not anecdote, but just way of seeing it, that my friend had asked her dad, like, how, like, I don't see you, like, would, like, you and God, you're not like, you know, she's like, you're not like prophesying every day, or you're doing all of these things, like, you're not like in awe of like this or that or the other. And he said, well, and he explained to her, if you were 3 years old and we were crossing the street and you didn't know where to go, I would grab your hand and we would cross together, right? And then if you were 5 years old, I would still grab your hand and we would cross together. But if you were 25 and I was to grab your hand and we would cross together, that would be weird, right? Because at that point you would be an adult and you would know me enough to know that I have taught you well to cross the street alone. And so that's a little bit how I feel. It's like God is, always will be, and obviously now I just feel like, I'm crossing the road. I'm just walking. It's hard to describe it.
Yeah, for me at least, I guess I always thought that, being faithful to God means doing more of what you're supposed to do and not doing what you're not supposed to do. So
Right.
that's a simple enough formulation.
Yeah. I mean, that's true. That's true. But, you know, I feel like what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do can sometimes vary if you're close enough to what the
Yeah,
soft whisper is, because sometimes what you're not supposed to do is exactly what you're supposed to do to be able to help somebody else, like maybe, I mean, I don't have like a particular example, but I know I've lived that in my life a few times where it was like, well, I'm not supposed to do that. I'm not supposed to go there, but it's exactly there where I was able to find someone that needed help, and so not saying that obviously go and do something that the Bible says not to do, but just being flexible enough to be able to listen, I think, is something that people would rather not do. It's easier to just follow the set of instructions and say tick 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 than to say, hey, what do you want me to do? Obviously in the Bible it says pray for those who are sick, but if you don't have healing for that person right now, and I'm going to go and I'm going to pray for them, maybe I crashed their faith. So let me listen. What do you want me to do? Should I pray for strength instead of healing? Like, this is something that to me is part of walking, and is part of being able to cross the road without him. It's like, what are you saying? What are you saying? Because if I'm following what you're saying, then people are going to be okay, and those that you've entrusted around me are going to be okay. So less about, the particular way, or what's tick 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 yes, or tick 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 no, and more about, let's have a relationship and let me listen so that I can follow.
Yeah. I believe you've addressed this before, but what impact do you hope that your music would have on the listeners?
I would hope, because this is not church music, even though obviously I have a faith and I believe that there's a God that loves people. And my hope is that obviously people would come to know that someone loves them. But I feel like my big hope is that, because this isn't Christian music specifically, is that people would at least open their minds to a feeling that would sort of open the way, or the door, to the possibility that there's someone out there that loves them. That's it. Like, I'm not, I don't hope anything else. Like, if that happens, then I feel like God can start working.
Mhm.
So I guess I guess that's it.
Mhm. So you hope to introduce more people to God.
Yeah, well, I hope to open the door to people that are feeling worthless and like no one loves them, to the idea that someone does. If that is obviously then is led, or is, means that down the line they are introduced to God. I mean, for me that would be great, because I feel like God's the best thing that can happen to anyone. But I feel like, yeah, I would like for people's hearts to be open and softened to the idea that there's someone that loves them. That is the key to me.
Yeah. I wonder, and you don't have to tell me too much on this, but was that how you were introduced to God? And you were in a state of, despair and something, and you were
No,
okay.
no. I grew up in a Christian family, so I was introduced to God since I was little, but I obviously walked away for a long time. But that's not the way that I was introduced to God, but it's definitely a way that I see God has been able to use me in the past. I have been able to make music, and people have been able to feel his love, even though I wasn't saying anything particular, churchy or anything. So I'm just hoping that that can happen on a bigger scale.
Right. So finally, aside from your music, what are you excited about so for this year or the next?
Well, that's silly, that's silly, because I'm actually really excited to go see the Copa Davis, the tennis tournament in November. It's the first time that I'm going to see tennis live, and I'm going to see some of the goats of tennis. Like, I'm going to see Nadal playing some of his last games. I'm going to see Alcaraz, which I'm really excited for. So yeah, I'm excited about that. But also I'm excited for, in regards to more music stuff, I'm excited for next year, because I will actually be able to have the band ready, and I will be touring and doing the summer season, which starts in like March, April, May of here. And hopefully I'll be touring the EP that would at that point be fully out, which is really exciting. It's honestly, it's crazy, because the way that it started was me having come to terms that if nothing was to come from it, I was happy that my work was out there. So I wasn't really planning on touring it. I wasn't planning on doing a band, a merge, nothing. I wasn't planning on having a website. I was just planning on releasing the music, and just happy that, if someone asked me, what do you do? I would be able to show them my work and say, this is what I do. I make music, and, would hope that people like them, but I wasn't really like, like bound to the idea that if they didn't like them, then I was going to be a failure. And I think I needed to go through that stage to be able to then be like, wait, if I'm putting so much effort in releasing these songs and making them and, and recording them, and why would I not push them at least to the best of my capacity so that they could reach the most amount of people possible, which is the key of all of this. So I think that's where I'm at now. And I want to tour them and I want to play them. So it's exciting to have moved from, I just want my work out to I'm actually going to try my best to make this work because I want the most amount of people to hear them. So that's what's exciting for me.
Yeah, I'm excited about the tour as well, and I certainly hope that one of the tour destinations is Budapest, Hungary, because I love food person. So,
I'll let you know if it is.
all right. So on that note, thank you very much, Daniela Revelli, for joining.
Thank you, Sean. Have a good one.